And I am the Director of Advising for Mechanical Engineering. And joining us today, I also have Professor Jones, our Associate Head. He will be involved in the presentation, as well as our Associate Director of Advising, Holly Englert. So at the end, we will also have PMEA. So I will kind of give you an overview of what you'll see today. So first, you will see a definition kind of mechanical engineering, because I know that that is something that's very broad, and we'll try to explain that into a little bit more depth. I'm going to start actually backwards. We're going to start with career opportunities, the things that you can expect, what students are doing after graduation. And then we're going to lead into how to go about getting those educational curriculum courses to meet those career objectives. And then Holly's going to cover the experiential learning component, so things that you can do to give you more of advanced jumpstart on some of your hands-on learning opportunities. And then we will end with the Purdue Mechanical Engineering Ambassadors here to answer some of your questions via the chat room. So first of all, I would like to kind of just give you an idea of what mechanical engineers are. So what do they do? An essential definition is they dream up, design, and build machine systems and processes. So they're the innovators, ones that are coming up with ways and systems on how to improve quality of life. So I really want to make sure that by it's better to see this than actually give a definition. So I want to start with a video and gives you somewhat of an understanding of mechanical engineering. And I also want to make sure that you guys can hear. So let me make sure. Let's see if we can do that.
You might have to turn the volume up. It's very quiet.
Wait, I'm still so confused as to how you.
Kristen, I don't hear anything at all.
Okay, let me see if I can. Let's try again.
What is mechanical engineering? The simplest definition is applying engineering principles to machines that have movement. If you think that sounds all-encompassing, well, you're right. Mechanical engineering is the broadest of all engineering majors, and their students can do just about anything because they have a broad understanding of the principles of physics, design, thermodynamics, and control systems. Mechanical engineers are versatile, reliable, and dedicated. In the job world, you can take these skills to almost any industry. For example, many mechanical engineering students begin their careers early with internships or co-ops at an industrial giant like Ford Motor Company or GE. Others enjoy solving problems in biotech or the pharmaceutical industry. NASA loves Purdue students, and many mechanical engineers find places in the aerospace and defense industries. And some ME graduates don't go into engineering at all, but use their problem-solving skills to start a business or go into sales or management. The foundational know-how of mechanical engineering will serve you wherever in the world you choose to go. Let's talk about the coursework involved. Mechanical engineers take a series of core classes in 4 different categories. Mechanical sciences focus on statics, friction, torque, and stresses of materials, and dynamics, what happens when those materials are in motion. Thermal and fluid sciences will have you at the wind tunnel, learning fluid mechanics, as well as the important aspects of heat transfer. In systems, measurements, and controls, you'll learn how sensors and actuators turn things on and off at the right time. You'll demonstrate this by building several robotic projects with a universal microcontroller kit. And design classes bring everything together, teaching you how to incorporate everything you've learned into a product that works in the real world. In your final semester, you'll team up with other students for your senior design class, where your group will design a product from the ground up. You'll do the theoretical background, build prototypes, test and refine them, work on a business plan, and finally present your product to real-world judges. Many students have taken these prototypes into production and started real-world companies as a result. Mechanical engineering has other unique opportunities to boost your college experience. Car teams like Baja, Formula, and Electric design and build a new race car every year, racing against hundreds of other universities. Rube Goldberg teams build crazy machines for a nationwide competition. Joining a team like this is not only fun, but it gives you leadership and teamwork experience, which really stands out on your resume. You can also choose to keep going into graduate school, like about a quarter of mechanical engineers do. ME has 12 specific research areas, including bioengineering, fluid mechanics, robotics, and nanotechnology. Zucro Labs is the largest academic propulsion lab in the world, and their rocket scientists are in big demand at companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin. Herrick Labs hosts research in refrigeration, acoustics, engines, and sustainable buildings. Grad school isn't for everyone, but if you have academic aspirations, Purdue can help you pursue them. There are many reasons why you should consider mechanical engineering. ME graduates have become astronauts, athletes, and entrepreneurs. No matter what your passions are and where your skills are focused, there's a place for you in mechanical engineering.
All right, so hopefully that gives you an idea a little bit about what the various things that you can do in mechanical, and also gives you kind of insight in some of the classes that you'll be taking as well, which Professor Jones will give us a little bit more description of those classes in his part of the presentation. So I just want to give you with some statistics. And so just so you have an idea of size, because I think it's important to understand, you know, the type of program that you would be entering into. So first, we are very proud of the fact that we are number 7, and this is based upon the U.S. News World Report. Last year we were 8, so we actually did increase in our ranking over the year. This year we are right around 1498. I think actually we have surpassed 1500 now within that we started the fall semester, and that is obviously sophomore to seniors. So 1500 we're the largest single College of Engineering school out. ECE is larger just because they have 2 majors within that. GPA wise, we're also very proud of the GPA that our students achieve. So our students average a 3.4 upon graduation. That is their overall GPA, is our average graduating GPA. And the other thing that's important to know is 87% of our students have had some sort of internship, professional experience, or co-op before they've graduated, okay, which is obviously has helped them get that permanent placement of 94%. And then average salary is roughly, you know, this can sometimes be skewed based upon the area that students are going into, but it's around $71,000 to start out in a career. So this just gives you a little bit more detail, and I'm using spring 19 data, and the reason for that is spring 20 data was hard to capture with COVID that happened and students going home, or unfortunately our graduating class didn't have the opportunity to stay on campus and graduate. So most of this information, I wanted you to get a feel for what it is normally like when mechanical. So in that spring of 19, we graduated 260. We already talked about kind of the industry experiences. I wanted to talk a little bit about the on-time part and what that means. So a lot of times we'll hear coming out of the college that we have a lower graduation rate. However, ME has some combined programs as well as co-op programs that do extend graduation. So on time for the co-op program, the combined BS degree combined with the master's degree, 5 years is the norm and on-time graduation for that. So adding that into it, 94% of our students graduate on time. We also have students that are participating in research. Holly will talk about undergraduate research and how students get involved in that. Some of those students have even more than one research opportunity within multiple semesters. And then on average, roughly depending on the year, between 44 to, sometimes I've seen upwards of 50% of our students have graduated with a minor or an entrepreneurship or other type of certificate as well. So I want to also lead in to kind of give you, you know, the, unfortunately, I'm not sure why that, the pie chart did not come through on this one. Let me move on to, I think I do not have it hidden. I can kind of give you an idea of what the percentage is for that pie chart. So let me go back to that. Oh, there, now I think you can see it now. I don't know why it didn't do it the first time. So it's not showing the lines, but I'll kind of give you a little bit of understanding. The 13% there that you can see is from defense and aero, 21% from automotive. And I would say that historically, depending on the economy, those two areas will typically be the highest for mechanical engineers. Okay, so we see a lot of percentage of our students getting jobs straight out of college with those. We're seeing a lot of growth areas in petroleum, consumer products, and energy type of positions, as well as consulting has also been a big increase. Students working in healthcare, we've also seen some increases in that. So when I show the next slide, you can kind of see some of the employer names of where students are getting positions. So some of those really jump out at you because, you know, in the middle section there's your automotive. So when 21% of our students go, it really reflects what that looks like from a standpoint of the majority. So some of those are local companies. Some of those are obviously Fortune 500 companies. The little ones, you can see they're somewhat maybe hard to read. You have defense in there as far as sectors, energy, the consulting pieces are also in there. So everything on that pie chart is represented here in some factor of employers and where students are going. So what I want to do now is I want to pass it over to Professor Jones because I want him to go through the engineering curriculum to kind of give you an idea of, since it is such a diverse program, how can you find your niche and maybe make their curriculum yours based upon the area that you're interested in.
Good, thank you, Kristen. So as you can see in the ME program map, that first row there is what you're doing now, the first year engineering program. First, starting on the left-hand side in brown, you see the math sequence, which is kind of our backbone. Everything really kind of builds off the mathematics. So that's a really important sequence to have a solid performance in. In the blue, this is our systems, measurements, and controls. So again, there are many mechanical systems in the world, but in today's world, they're mostly electronically controlled. So having some foot in both the mechanical and electrical world is really important. So that's why you get some doses of the circuit analysis, and then how do you measure different properties? How do you model different systems? And ultimately, how do you control it? How do you make it do what you want to do? Like your cruise control in your car, like your thermostat, your automated thermostat in your homes, things of that nature. In the yellow is our mechanical sciences. This really deals with our structures, and that could be static structure or dynamic structure. And how do we look at the forces that are generated and the stresses that are caused by that, and will that system fail or not? And those are the kind of things that you'll study in this particular part of the curriculum. Then there's the thermofluid sciences, that's in the green there. Thermodynamics, fluid mechanics, heat and mass transfer. So there's a lot of different type of systems, like for example, in automotive, you've got heating, ventilating, air conditioning system in a car. You've also got your radiator that you're trying to dissipate heat. You've got other electronics like in your computer. You're trying to dissipate heat from the computer. Things of that nature are the kind of things that you'll be studying in that part of the curriculum. And then in that kind of orangey looking color, those are our design courses. This is what kind of pulls everything together. This is where you'll focus on the project, but you're drawing your content knowledge from all those fundamental areas to solve different problems. Now, there's a variety of electives that you can pursue as well. On the far right side, you'll see the general education program, which involves a world affairs and cultures elective, an economics elective, and then several other general gen eds. And what we encourage students to do is be strategic with your electives. You know, think about what you want to get out of it, whether it's a foreign language, whether it's a passion that you have for history or whatever. You want to think about what you want to utilize those for. You also have a free elective there on the bottom that you get to pretty much pick whatever you want to take. And then on the bottom left-hand side, you've got 3 tech electives and 3 ME electives. So these are technically oriented courses. The ME electives have to be ME courses, could be 300, 400, or 500 elective courses. Or the technical electives can be courses either in ME and or they could be courses outside of ME in the hard sciences like chemistry, biology, physics, math, computer science, things like that. Or you could do the other upper level engineering programs if you wanted to use EE courses or MSE courses or other courses of that nature. Go ahead and switch, Kristen. Now, the question is, what could you do with all of your electives? And you can see in the middle box, these are the listing of the different electives you have at your disposal to be able to use in a way that you want to use them. So if you look at the box in the top, this is really best designed for students that really love the hardcore technical nature of mechanical engineering. We have a 5-year BS MS program. This is a great way to kind of test the waters in graduate school. You also have the honors college. So if you started in the honors program, you can continue that out throughout your ME program. You have undergraduate research. So if you're thinking about graduate school, but you're not sure, a great way to test the waters here is to do an undergraduate research project with a faculty member and get a sense of what it's like to work in research and with your, other graduate TAs and things of that nature. You've got technical minors. So a number of the engineering schools have technical minors, like ECE is probably one of our more popular ones. You also have technical minors in areas outside. So in all the hard sciences like math and computer science and biology and chemistry and areas like that, you can pursue minors in that area, as well as things like management. Now, if you look at the box at the bottom left, this is really for our students that love the business side of mechanical engineering. So we have your entrepreneurship leadership program. You've got the management minor, the econ minor. You've got the 5-year BS MBA program and the 5-year BS with a master's in economics. So a lot of different options. Some are kind of more that you could do within your context of your 128 credits. Others would extend your time. For example, if you're doing the MBA or the master's in economics. Then on the bottom right are kind of other categories of things that you could pursue. In all of the liberal arts types of areas, all those gen eds have minors associated with English, Psych, Soc-Com, foreign language, history. All of those areas you could pursue minors in. So if you have a passion for something like that, this is a great way to really develop your background in those areas. We also have the global engineering minor, as Kristen alluded to. We have probably 40 to 50% of our students go abroad by the time they graduate. So this is a great credential that really will distinguish you. And with our global economy that we're all dealing with, it's a very important area to build your background in. There's a new innovation and transformational change. And again, as you well know, there's a lot of change going on right now. So learning how to manage that change effectively is a great skill to have. And then you also have other things like the intellectual properties minor. So if you're interested in patent law and intellectual property, that's a great one. Or pre-health professions minor if you're interested in going on to be a physician or a dentist or other things of that nature. Now, these are just kind of a listing of these different electives. Again, 18 credits in gen eds. 6 of those are kind of a little bit more prescriptive. Yeah, one has to be an economics elective, one has to be a world affairs and cultures elective, but the other 12 credits you get to choose. And the technical elective requirement, these are courses that could be in the ME program, in the college, or even outside the college. And again, there are 9 credits there that you get to pick. You can use those for various minors and things if you want to. So they can double count both for the minor and for your core ME program. Likewise, with the ME electives, there are 9 credits there that you have to take that have to be ME courses, 300, 400, or 500 level courses. And then you've got 1 free elective, which is essentially almost unrestricted as well. You can use it for a minor or other kind of purpose. Now I'll just turn this over to Holly to pick up on our next topic.
Good evening, everyone. So now that you've heard a little bit more about what mechanical engineering is, what our graduates are up to, what the curriculum looks like, you want to start thinking about, is ME the right school for you? Is it a good fit for you? And some questions you can consider are, where are you at in terms of the admission thresholds? As you know, there is the guaranteed admission of a 3.2 GPA and a 3.2 EAI. So where do you fall within that? Are you going to meet that? And as you've heard, mechanical engineering is also a broad program, which gives you a lot of opportunities and flexibility to be able to do a variety of different things. But you also want to start considering what your vision for your own future is. You want to be able to start pulling the pieces of the puzzle together so you have an idea of where you want to end up at the end of your degree program. It's very important that you have that vision as you're working through a very rigorous curriculum, because you will be challenged in mechanical engineering. You want to start thinking about, what is your work ethic? Are you ready to work through a challenging, rigorous curriculum? And you also want to start thinking about those experiences beyond the classroom. So you saw 87% of our students had an internship or co-op at graduation. 44% have minors. We have, a variety of students doing study abroad experiences. So are you ready, and do you have an idea of what you want to do with those? So on the next slide, if Kristen wants to advance, let's talk about some of those opportunities that you may have the option to consider in mechanical engineering. One of those is research. So as an undergraduate, you would have the ability to work with a faculty member in their research lab. You can do this in a variety of different programs, including SURF, which is the Summer Undergraduate Research Fellowship Program, where you would stay on campus in the summer and work in a research lab with a faculty member, consistent with like an internship experience. Similar to that is DURI. This is the Discovery Park undergraduate research internship that happens during the academic year. This is a little bit more collaborative with other colleges, interdisciplinary, so it may not be all engineering faculty members. But then you do have the opportunity to just do faculty-directed research, where you would work with a faculty member. Maybe you've had them in class and you really enjoyed their topics and you had the opportunity to get to know them and work in their research lab. But it doesn't have to be an ME faculty member. So if you have interest in electrical or computer engineering, the aero field, you can do research with faculty members in those areas as well. And then you also, of course, can do research with ME faculty members. If a student has the opportunity to do research with an ME faculty member, there's also something within ME called the Bottomley Research Scholarship. So not only would you be able to earn course credit, you would have a scholarship for this research experience. If students do research in the College of Engineering in a faculty-directed type of way, you can earn credit if it's an ME faculty member towards your ME electives that Professor Jones was discussing. Or if you're doing research, again, with an aero or a nuclear faculty member, you can apply that towards your technical elective requirements. You can do up to 9 credit hours of research towards your degree requirements. You cannot start earning those electives, the technical and the ME elective credits, though, until you reach junior level curriculum. Prior to junior level curriculum, you could apply that towards the free elective, again, that you heard about from Professor Jones. Some other things that you can consider outside of research are things like study abroad. Obviously, in the time of COVID, that's a little bit more difficult, but there are so many different ways to get involved in study abroad that really meet your interests. So if you want to go abroad for a long time, you could get involved in the GEAR program, where you would be abroad for about 7 months, not only doing a full semester of coursework, but also an internship or research experience in that country. GEAR is the only program that requires a language. The rest of these programs, you do not need to take language credit to participate in. If maybe 7 months sounds like too much, but you still want a more immersive experience, you could consider a LEAP program. These are long-term engineering abroad programs where you would spend 1 semester at one of the partner institutions taking classes that help advance your mechanical engineering degree. Most students who do a LEAP program in ME are going to do that spring semester of their junior year. So plenty of time for you to research these opportunities. If maybe a whole semester sounds like too much, then maybe you want to consider the summer undergraduate research program, where you would spend the summer abroad, typically in Germany, doing research at those institutions that you can apply towards your ME or your technical elective requirements. But if summer still sounds like too much, you still have the opportunity to participate in study abroad doing a STEP program. These are short-term programs that would be either 1 week over spring break or 3 weeks during the Maymester. Depending on the type of program that you chose to participate in with STEP, you can apply that towards your ME electives or your technical electives. There are also opportunities with abroad experiences to participate in international project-based courses, such as senior design and those types of things. And then, of course, there's traditional study abroad. That would not necessarily be related to engineering and would most likely delay your graduation, but if you wanted to participate in those opportunities, you certainly could. If you're not quite sure you want to go abroad, then you want to consider maybe more student organization participation at Purdue and those kinds of hands-on opportunities that you could participate in here. One of the most popular for the ME students is, of course, the vehicle teams. So Baja, Formula, Solar Racing, Grand Prix, those types of things. You heard about those in the video, where students have the opportunity to design, build, and race a new car every year. Even if automotive isn't necessarily your main interest area, these are still great opportunities for you to learn different engineering principles that you can apply towards what your interests are. Of course, there's FIRST Robotics. Some of you may have participated in that in high school. Now you can flip the script and become a mentor and work with local schools here. Purdue Orbital, there's SpaceX, different underwater roving vehicles. And then we do have a chapter of the American Society for Mechanical Engineers here at Purdue. They have different design competitions like Rube Goldberg. They do sports equipment designs, different things like that that you would, again, have the opportunity to have some hands-on experience with. And then you may want to consider things like epics, so again, where you're getting those true hands-on project-based experiences. Once you reach junior level curriculum with epics and the vertically integrated projects programs, you can apply those opportunities towards your technical electives. So you would have the opportunity to not only be getting those really great hands-on project-based experiences, but also earn some course credit for that, which is super beneficial. So there's a lot of different ways to get involved. These are just a quick snapshot of some of the things that mechanical engineering students do, but there's so many more opportunities on campus to get involved. If we want to move on now, we will be able to kind of dive into some Q&A. So if you do have questions, please make sure you put those in the chat and we will ask on your behalf. I will monitor that chat. But joining us today are some of our Purdue Mechanical Engineering Ambassador students. These are current students in mechanical engineering. So I will ask now that they all turn on their videos if they haven't already. I can't quite see all of you yet. But joining us us today is Jack. He's a senior. Some of the things that he's been involved in here at Purdue would be the treasurer of ASME. He's been involved in the GEAR program and has had some different research opportunities. Noah is joining us, also a senior, minoring in management, and had some internships. Nick is a senior joining us as well, has had some internships and project-based experiences that he can speak about. Daniel is here, he's a junior. He has also participated in ASME, internships, and a research with Engineering Without Borders. Ben is joining us, a junior. He's had some study abroad experiences, participates in the Baja Racing Club, and has had some internships. And then Anna is joining us. I know she's a senior, even though that says she's a junior. She's minoring in Spanish and has also had some study abroad experiences. And she's had some internships as well. So if you have questions specifically for any of these students and their experiences, I can ask on your behalf. Or if you have just general questions, you can go ahead and put those in the chat as well. So, but I think Kristen had some questions to get us started.
So mainly I wanted to just direct some things to the seniors, and I know just because from their past experience, but I see that there's quite a few already questions in the chat. So I'm just going to start with Jack, just because I put him on the spot earlier. So I'm going to start with you. I like the fact that you have a very unique background, which is, you know, we talk a lot about in mechanical engineering and just as a whole as being a balanced student. So can you kind of explain, because I know that a lot of times when we come at this, it seems very intimidating, right? So you're a good student and, you know, how do you balance all the things that you want to do, perform well in classes, but also maintain mental health and do the fun stuff like the videography?
We've done a lot of different things, from gear, study abroad. I'm doing the entrepreneurship certificate, a variety of clubs and jobs throughout campus. And I would say the best way to sort of balance that is sort of just find things that you're passionate about or even just have an interest in, and sort of like say, hey, I'm interested in, like for me, videography, like what opportunities are there for on campus for me, and sort of just pursue those and just see how those turn out for you.
All right, I'm kind of writing down some questions here as we're getting them. So I actually want to direct this question to Professor Jones. What is kind of the difference between mechanical engineering and aerospace engineering? And if a student knows they want to work in the aero field, but they're not sure what they want to do, should they choose ME over aero? I know this is kind of a popular question, so I thought it might be interesting to get your insight on that.
Yeah, I think both disciplines are good options. The advantage of ME is that it really gives you more flexibility. And there are times when the aerospace industry takes a decline. And if that ever was to happen, the ME students have more flexibility to make adjustments. You know, in the world we live in right now, as we've all seen the last 6 or 8 months, it's a very uncertain time. You know, we never know what's going to be around the corner. So the thing I like about the ME degree is there's so many different sectors of industry you can work in. It's easy to navigate uncertain times when things may come up that you don't expect. Now if someone just wants to work in the aerospace industry, that may be a good choice for them, but MEs work in a lot of the same areas, and it just gives you that added flexibility to have that broader background. So both are good options.
Thank you. Kristen, can you take us back to the pie chart screen? We're getting a lot of questions about the percentages of students that go on to work in particular industries, so I think it would be interesting if we can look at that. So for those of you asking about people working in specific industries, you can kind of see this here for spring 2019, about like where students are going and the types of, Kristen had showed the type of companies that they're doing there. Noah, I have a question for you about the management minor. Can you tell us kind of why you chose the management minor and how you think that makes, how was that when you've been interviewing? Have companies been interested in the fact that you have this minor, those kinds of things? If you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. So I think what attracted me to the management minor initially was kind of trying to encompass some of those soft skills that aren't necessarily included in mechanical engineering. So I've taken classes on marketing, the legal background of business, obviously accounting and stuff like that. So I think that what's valuable to that as far as an industry is, even if you're working as an engineer, you're going to have to interface with people, in a business setting, or at least I have in my internships. So kind of being able to have that background and understanding that you can make engineering recommendations, but at the end of the day, if you're working for a business, you kind of have to understand, the bottom line of things as well. I also kind of have a little bit of a desire to maybe gravitate towards like a more management type position. Obviously having a good technical foundation is really important early on in your career, but that's kind of where I see myself long term, but that can change. But I'd say if you kind of have those desires, it's kind of a good skill, good background to have.
So there's been a couple questions for any of the student panelists that kind of want to chime in on this. Kind of how have you specialized your degrees? What are you doing to make it unique for you? Whoever wants to join in on that.
I'll go ahead and go because someone just asked what are the benefits of minoring in a foreign language. So I'm also getting a minor in management along with my Spanish one. So I wanted to cater my degree towards Spanish because I took it in high school and I came in and I had a free elective. So that's what I decided to go with. And as you could see, I also did a Spanish study abroad. So I did this my freshman year summer. And I stayed with a host family and all my classes were in Spanish and only my host mom spoke Spanish. And so that's one way I have like catered my degree towards my interests. And that benefit is there's a lot of companies with manufacturers in foreign countries. Like for example, here in the US, a lot of companies outsource to Mexico. So in my previous internship experiences, I've actually sat on calls with manufacturing and distributors in Mexico, and just having that language sort of helps. When you're a full-time employee, a lot of companies do go down to those sites, so it's helpful there just to sort of bridge the gap between. But yeah, that's how I've sort of made my degree more specific to me.
Kind of going off of that, if I could talk about on that in a little different direction. As you spoke about research for credit earlier, I've kind of tailored my degree towards using that instead of a traditional technical elective. I'm doing research at the DC House, which is a center for high performance buildings. And I just think it's really cool because I really like the R&D side of engineering and the direction that can take. So I've been able to take one of my classes and make that a research credit and spend my time doing that instead of a traditional class. And give me an idea of what grad school may look like if I want to pursue graduate school, if that's for me, while also earning academic credit. And so I'm not in over my head with different things going on. I think it's just a really cool opportunity.
Any other students have anything to chime in? Any other PME members?
Yeah, I guess I could add, like, the way I've tailored my degree is I want to pursue like creating my own business in the future. So I've taken entrepreneurship classes to get the entrepreneurship certificate. And then also with my technical electives, sort of paired that together to sort of meet my interests. I'm more interested in sort of like renewable energy technology. So there's definitely opportunities to sort of route your degree whichever direction you want.
Thank you. So we've had a couple questions about internships, like when should we be looking at getting our first internships? Is it normal to do multiple internships? So if any of the students that have had internships want to chime in about that kind of process of finding it and just kind of speaking about that in general.
I guess I can kind of speak on this behalf just to start it off. I would say going into definitely your sophomore year, you should be having some sort of an idea, maybe after your first semester, of the direction you'd like your summer to take. That being said, it can completely change. As for example, you can see here, Nokia Incorporated, where I had my first internship, that was a consumer electronics company. They worked on Bluetooth padlocks. I decided to take my degree in a more automotive direction. So then I went to Allison Transmission, and although it doesn't say it on there, this next upcoming summer, I will also be at General Motors. So it's really important, I think, in my opinion, to make sure you're thinking ahead into some regard of like what you want to get out of your ME degree, but it's completely fine if it changes along your entire curriculum. You'll see that some of the classes you actually take might pull you in other directions. For me personally, I had no idea I would be interested in battery electric technology, but that's really what I want to do, I think, with my entire career. And some of the electrical classes just got me really motivated to see where that takes me. So that being said, networking is huge. So if you ever have some sort of company that you're really passionate about, you've done your research on them, and maybe it's something that you've had an affinity for since you were a child, just being open and communicating with anybody that would have some sort of a contact. If it's a family friend, if it's somebody at IR, but obviously IR is a little bit different this year. Just having somebody in your back pocket to be able to send a quick email to, just to interface with that company goes a long way. Even if you don't stay with the company, even if you don't pursue an internship with them, it's always nice to have a few references in your back pocket. So I would say going from your freshman year, it's perfectly fine not to get an internship. However, it is something that is nice to have transitioning into your sophomore year, because it might allow you to tailor your ME curriculum in a different direction. So the way I like to see it is you come into an internship, if you're able to get one between your freshman and sophomore year, and it kind of gives you an idea of, okay, this is what ME is all about, and this is where I want to take all of my classes to pursue. So.
Holly, do you care if I jump in and ask a question?
Go for it.
Okay. Because I can't see the chat, so I don't know what's happening. But I want to address this to Nick. So I want to ask about, we talked about internships, and those are important, but any hands-on experience is important, especially for international students that are listening. How can international students get involved? And one of those is, I believe, is through hands-on projects through EPICS, VIP, and specifically the ME summer project. So Nick, can you talk a little bit about the ME summer projects and what you did this summer?
Yeah, absolutely. The ME summer projects, really amazing program. With COVID happening, it was really difficult to get internships and opportunities over the summer, and the ME school being able to come together and set up these 3-month research projects for students was incredible. A great way to get involved, even though it was distance. I was part of a project working on new PPE to prevent COVID-19 transmission in hospitals for healthcare workers. And so it was an incredible opportunity to be able to work on a project that had real world impact, and being able to apply what I've learned in mechanical engineering so far to, again, work on something that could become a viable solution to a major problem. And so it was a great way to get involved. It also really opened me up to research opportunities for something that I never really considered doing before. And so I would definitely highly recommend the ME summer projects if they do continue. It's a really great opportunity, and it's definitely something to look for.
So for the internships, how do students kind of even start looking for those internship opportunities? What are some resources that you have used to secure those internships?
So I think it was put in the chat about the CCO and the career fairs we have here on campus. So I actually got my internship this past summer with Siemens at Expo. So if you missed out in IR, don't worry about it. We have Expo next semester. But something I have done and I'm doing like when I'm looking for full-time jobs is just going on LinkedIn. And so like for me, full-time, I'm interested in a rotational program. So I just search engineering rotational development program and I go through LinkedIn and I just click save. You can save as many jobs as you want. If you're not in the mood to actually apply for them, then you can just look around getting your options and then you can go back to your saved jobs at any time and go in and submit your resume. It's really easy. You just have to fill out like it autofills from your resume for the most part, and you just have to fill out like 1 or 2 screens. And I think with internships, it's just like the more you apply to, the better chance you have, as well as like any phone interview you get, any interview at all, like definitely do it. If it's like, oh, I sort of like, maybe this company isn't for me, like do the interview so you have that experience for maybe if you do get the company that you really want. But that's just my experience.
And
I'll add something. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, if I could just add to what Anna said, a couple things. Number one is that, you know, when you're younger, what I would encourage you to do is maybe look more broadly, particularly for smaller companies, because I think your probability there is probably going to be stronger. I think that would help you and allow you to maybe talk to more companies that way. And don't forget about your own personal contacts. Maybe one of your parents is an engineer who works for a company. Sometimes they can help you open up an opportunity, or a friend of the family who maybe have a contact. So, you know, look at your own personal contacts as well. Sometimes that can open up an opportunity for you.
I was also going to add real quick that the Career or Center for Career Opportunities, the CCO, in a normal semester, I'm not sure how it's working this semester, but they also review resumes. They give like mock interviews, and so before you even like head out to and start looking for these jobs, I think it is kind of important to, you know, take a look at your resume and make sure and have someone else look at it. Make sure that you're, you know, showing the best version of yourself.
And I just quickly wanted to add one last thing is an important class that you'll take in your sophomore year is ME 290. This course really allows you to feel more comfortable about your resume, build it as a mechanical engineer in the direction that you would like to take it. And it's all part of the coursework. And so don't feel like if you don't have your resume completely prepared and thought out for exactly what you want to do, it's actually part of the coursework. So they'll help you along the way to kind of find what you're looking for. And part of that class also involves LinkedIn and things like that. So everything that we've kind of touched on, it'll also be involved in your curriculum.
And the one last thing I'd like to add is have some grit. In other words, you know, if you get declined by some companies, don't let it stop you. Keep going, because it's the person that's persistent, that won't take no for an answer, that's going to get those internship opportunities. So you got to put yourself out there, and you've got to keep going back again and again and again.
I'm scrolling through the chat to see if we've missed anything. There were a couple questions about the admissions. So there is the guaranteed admission policy that once you complete first year engineering, if your GPA and your EAI are a 3.2 or greater, and there's a few other things within there as well, like you have to complete first year engineering in 2 semesters, and not have repeated any classes, those kinds of things, then you would have guaranteed admission to the School of Mechanical Engineering. But your first year engineering advisors can help walk you through that policy a bit more. So I would definitely recommend reaching out to them to talk with them about admissions and those types of things. Let's see.
I'm not sure how many other questions we have, but I know we're running short on time. So one of the things I just want to let the FYE students know is that we're looking at the chat, and what hasn't been answered, we will get those out to the PMEA reps that are here tonight to get those answered for you, and we'd be happy to post those and give those to your TA for Brightspace so they can post those answers for you if there was something that did not get answered.
Yeah, thank you for stopping sharing your screen. I was going to jump in and say, as far as the QR code goes, I'm going to share my screen now, and otherwise I'll be quiet. Okay, so let me just share my screen. So, and you can continue asking questions, responding to questions, all of that. And to the students that are in my section, I'm sorry you can't get away from me. I'm even here too, I know. So you can't get a break. But so here's a few quick instructions on how to get a QR code. If you have an iPhone, it should be pretty easy holding up the camera, looking at the QR code. If you have an Android, you can go to the App Store and download it. I have a Samsung and it works perfectly fine. But if you can't do it the normal way, just through your camera, go to the App Store and find the QR code there. Anyways, here's the QR code. So just remember to do this before you leave. And if for some reason, for whatever reason, you can't do it at the moment, you have 24 hours after this EYM event, we'll post online to record your attendance. So, okay, I will now be quiet. Thank you.
We just got a question about minoring in computer science with mechanical engineering. That is possible. You would take the CS courses for technical elective requirements. So yes, you can minor in computer science and mechanical engineering.
But what I would add to that is you have to be strategic, and because they only allow you to take their courses in their off semesters. So you want to make sure you plan that out well to be able to get them all in.
Yeah, if you don't start the computer science minor at a minimum sophomore year, you probably won't be able to get it just because the CS department is a bit restrictive with access to their courses. But yes, it's possible to do for sure.
And for those that are interested in it, and if you have extra space in your spring schedule, CS 180 is only offered in the spring, so 2 non-majors. So that's only if you have extra space. It is not in lieu of any first year engineering requirement, because to get out of first year, you have to have your other classes first. So
yes, and it's possible to finish the CS minor and the ME major in 4 years.
Yes, we've had multiple do it.
Yes,
so
it's pretty popular. I don't really see any other questions coming in at the moment, so okay, here we go. So is it possible to minor in another engineering major like ECE while majoring in ME? Yes, if they offer a minor. Not all engineering disciplines offer minors, but if they offer a minor, you can do that. And again, you would apply that towards your technical elective requirements. Very similar to the CS minor.
And then I want to real quickly, the preference was asked about our science selective. That's one thing, ME doesn't care. So we are the most flexible, and you can pick whatever science selective that you choose. I tell students that I would encourage you to pick what you feel that you are the strongest in, but honestly, CS is probably the most useful for out your career in ME, unless you want to do something in a lab where chemistry would be beneficial, or potentially even biology if you want to work more in a biomed type field. So we allow students to make those choices when you're selecting your science selective.
Professor Jones, would you chime in on this? Does controls engineering fall more under ME or ECE?
Yes. And it just depends, you know, they do a lot of controls in ECE. We do a lot of controls in ME. I think in the ME program, it's maybe a little bit more practical because they do a lot with like robotics and other things like that. So maybe a little more practical. I think they're maybe a little more theoretical in ECE, but both programs have strong emphasis in controls.
Question about how, so maybe for our student panelists, how computer intensive are ME courses? I'm not exactly sure what computer intensive means, but I don't know if any of you would interpret that differently. If any of the PMEA students have anything to add with that.
I think if by computer intensive, you mean like coding wise, you do continue the MATLAB use you learn in Engineering 132, you continue that in some of your classes, as well as you have a few computer-aided design classes. But I am not the best at coding. I will definitely admit that. And I am able to make it through in my classes. And it definitely has helped me, the computer intensive part, if you will, in my internship. So if coding scares you, definitely don't let that scare you away. Or if you want it to be more coding computer intensive, you can definitely take the classes to do that.
Yeah, I'll attest to that. My previous internship this last summer was with the Digital and Connected Services Division of Allison Transmission. So it was actually a lot of coding that I had not anticipated at all. And just as Anna had mentioned, I don't have the most affinity for coding. I'll admit that, but Purdue definitely well prepared me for my internship. So it will be something that may or may not carry through. Definitely MATLAB with some of your labs, but it's not going to be anywhere near, if you're taking honors engineering, you probably won't be doing Python code for all 4 years, something like that.
There was a question about study abroad, and if they don't require having the language, are the classes and teachers like trained to teach classes in English, I guess is the question. So for those of you that have studied abroad, do you have any insight to that?
So for my short-term study abroads, they were either taught by or co-taught by like a Purdue professor, but those were only like 1 week's spring break or Maymester study abroad. So I'm not sure about the longer programs.
I can say, I mean, I don't know if I don't know if any of us can speak to if those professors are trained to necessarily work with exchange students. I don't know if any of us can really speak to that. But you could, if students are, considering more of a long-term engineering abroad program, on the study abroad website, you can search for students who have participated in those programs, and those students would probably be able to give you a better sense of like what the classroom environment is like.
Holly, I'll just elaborate a little bit more on the double major, because we get that question a lot. So I just want to address the why behind why you can't double major in some areas. So there has to be enough uniquenesses about a degree in order to double major in that. So you have to have 32 unique credits in each program to carry a dual degree. And that is why in Aero, you cannot have one. Okay, so it is, there's too many crossovers between, for example, mechanics, aero mechanic, so those are things that one of the reasons why. The other reason can also be capacity in the program. I think there was a question about ECE. Yes, ECE, we do have double majors for ECE because ECE has a pretty in-depth elective and core requirement. So we do have a few. The most utilized, I would say, double major is math. They're actually outside the College of Engineering, and they're with the College of Science. So that's physics, math, and computer science are their most utilized dual degrees. And now also with College of Liberal Arts, the degree in 3. So Anna was talking about Spanish. We have students that are getting a dual degree with Spanish as well as ME as well. So those are also programs that would be a good opportunity for dual.
All right, one last question. Is there a major difference between the machine systems track within agricultural engineering and mechanical engineering? Perhaps Professor Jones could chime in on this.
Well, I think in ME, in ag, they focus more on kind of agricultural applications and such. Ours is kind of a little broader. That would be the primary difference, but you're learning the basics in both programs. So they're not that radically different from each other. It's just that I think ME takes an approach where you kind of look at a broader application of those ideas for whether it be automotive or other types of applications like that.
Thank you.
We have 6:30, so those of you that are still hanging on,